tell what is the difference between the types of data you need to collect as a UX researcher. So qualitative and quantitative data, yes, most of us know what that means. So qualitative is the insights into feelings, how users think, what they're expressing, and then quantitative is the numbers. So it's the number of times they've attempted to log in or conversion rate, anything to do with statistics. But what is more important is understanding when to use which one. So quantitative data, the numbers, you normally need that to report back to seniors to prove something works or doesn't work. So if you can prove through stats, through quantitative data, for example, a rating, so you ask them to rate the website experience of that feature or that user journey and say, how would you rate this journey from 1 to 5? And you can rate it 1 to 10, you can rate it 1 to 7. I prefer 1 to 5 because 1 to 5 is easier on the mind for the user. So cognitive overload is not there. They don't have to think too much about a 1 to 5 rating. And the way to do that is to rate the 1 as the lowest possible and 5 as the highest possible. So you'd say something like, can you rate this user experience from a 1 to 5 score? And 1 would be not useful and 5 would be very useful, and then they can scale it. And then you get that stat from all the people you interview. So for example, you might interview 8 people, then you're going to get stats from 8 users, and take the average and put that in your PowerPoint presentation. So you might put it in a circle with a number, the average rating, and explain that so that everybody's clear on that quantitative data. Now, you can ask, is something important to them as well? So you could say, could you rate this in terms of importance at having this feature or this new feature or button, or it may be something that you're designing that you're going to add into the website. For example, you might be adding in videos or images and you want to see if that's the right image that they would like, and how important is it to have an image or video in that user journey or on that page. So you'd say, how important would this feature be on a rating of 1 to 5? You say 1 being not important, 5 being very important, and then let them rate that. That way you get quantitative data that's really adding value. Rather than just understanding it as numbers, you're actually able to apply it and report back. Now let's compare that to qualitative data. Qualitative data is so essential to users because it's all about how they feel. And I would argue it's more important than quantitative data. They're both important, but why do I say it's more important? Because if you don't understand how they're feeling emotionally, what their mental modes are, if it stresses them out to use the website or the user journey, or whether they like it and they enjoy it and they're happy, getting all that feedback is really key. So we have 3 types of qualitative data. So we have neutral feelings or thoughts, we have positive feelings or thoughts, and negative feelings or thoughts. So you capture all of them and you'll relay them back. Now, wherever there's a crossover or there's a repeat from different users, as you know, the more people you interview, you're starting to get back similar feedback. So over 5 to 6, you're going to get back similar feedback. So if you, and I actually did an experiment on this, I had my colleague do some user research on some user journeys, and I did the exact same user journeys 6 months later with completely different people, and we got almost identical feedback from these user groups. So it just proves that even if you try to interview more people, you're going to get very similar feedback from the users. So anyway, the qualitative data, what you want to do is capture how they feel, what they're thinking, how they behave, how do they act with it, how do they react to the website, how often do they use it. And when you're doing that, you want to know how they're feeling or what they want to express. Let them speak out loud. So you say, what are you thinking as you're scrolling? What are you thinking about right now? So you want to know what they're thinking in their mind and get them to express it. So one of the key areas to know that you're good at qualitative data, capturing that data, is to know that you're getting these answers that are open-ended answers and they're very expressive. So for example, if you said to somebody, what do you think of the navigation bar? And they just said, oh, it's okay. Then you know you're not doing your job. You need to say, well, why is it not okay? What would you like to add? What can we increase in terms of the design features, or what can we remove? What can we change? And what would you like to see? and that way you're getting a deeper answer than what you thought. The other thing to note is that qualitative data, it depends on where you capture it, you'll get different types of data. For example, when you capture it in a one-to-one interview, a user may be in a different mode or a different way of your rapport with them, so they connect with you differently and they speak to you in a different way. The same person in a focus group may react differently due to groupthink and influence from others. Somebody might say, oh, I really like that, and then somebody says, oh, yeah, I like it too. So you're going to get different qualitative data in different scenarios. Another one is if you did some guerrilla testing, you went to a coffee shop and you asked some people, well, what do you think of this? You're going to get different feedback. So wherever you are, whatever environment it is, you need to consider that. That's why we put that in the report. We always mention user testing was done in this environment, remote, face-to-face, whether it was guerrilla, whether it was in a controlled environment, moderated, unmoderated. We mention that in the report so that you get the context of how you captured that feedback, because that's so key to understanding what users were saying and why they were saying it and how they're saying it. For example, if you ask somebody about whether they like a website for surfing and it's the winter in England, the feedback you get will be very different to if you ask that question on a beach on a hot summer's day. So you need to understand context and mention that in your report so that people know when and why and how you'd ask that question. I hope that was helpful, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like,